This was me at 18 years old. I'd been training hard since I was 15 because growing up, I was a twig. So I wanted to get bigger, stronger, and look like I could handle myself. But after I got there, I just experienced aching pain and stiffness. And the stronger and bigger I got, the more I had underneath the surface. And I just ignored it for a long time, just grinding through it. But in my 20s, I got into a car accident that exposed all the weak links that I had underneath the surface. And if I had not gotten into that, then I would have never understood what I needed to fix to address those things until I was at least in my 40s, because most of the people I talked to, they also experienced the same type of symptoms, but at a much later stage. So my nervous system was amplifying after the car accidents, all these aching pains that I had. I couldn't even take a walk around the block because my back pain would be so bad. My child couldn't even kiss my cheek because it would throw my neck out. And on the outside, people still thought I looked big and strong. However, I couldn't do what I used to be able to do, and I did not feel great at all. Most days, I couldn't even bend over and touch my knees, and that's how bad it was. But what allowed me to get better was to be able to fill the gaps that I had in my training before, because those gaps were where my weak links grew, and the car accident is what amplified it. So in this video, I'm going to show you the trap that I fell into, because there is a big difference between being able to hold yourself together and be strong in all positions and just looking strong and being able to lift a lot of weight in one position. The first big issue is if you want to learn how to lift weights, you're going to find a lot of content on how to pick exercises based off activating a certain muscle. However, this does not teach you how to have the full range of motion, not the current range of motion that you can actually hit, but the full range of motion of your potential. Because as you get stronger, you should also get stronger in growing the range of motion that you have and get stronger in that range. Because if you don't, you're going to develop a weak link. And if you don't use it, you lose it. Almost all children can move in incredible ways and use their body extremely well in these different positions without even teaching them a proper form or how to lift loads safely. They do it really well because it was hardwired in their brain. But as you get older and you sit in the classroom and in the car and you stop squatting and all these other things, you'll end up losing these positions. And so you'll become extremely robotic and you will stiffen up. For example, if you are inflexible, most of that inflexibility does not come from not being able to stretch the muscle, but rather the nervous system contracting your opposing muscles and not allowing you to stretch it further because it fears that is a danger zone. And if you access that range, you'll injure yourself. So you become, your muscles become shorter and you become more stiff. And this causes a lot of aches and pains. Also, you start to develop back pain because if one muscle is tight and pulling on another and it is unflexible down here, then this one now has to do more of the range of motion. And so that is going to cause a lot of aching and pain because it's overstretching or overworking because it's doing other jobs of other muscles. It's so much easier when you learn the range of motion of every single joint and work within that, because that automatically will hit every single muscle. And when you learn how to lift loads safely in this manner, you're not just going to strengthen the muscle itself, you're also going to strengthen the tendons, ligaments, and you're going to have a much better experience because you're not only going to look better, but you're going to feel better as well. And it's going to carry over in your daily life rather than getting big and strong in the gym and then being achy and pain in the rest of your life because of how you trained. In total, there are about 27 primary movement patterns that you should be training and 7 categories. And most people only train a fraction of those. And that is the reason why most people will develop pain and aches as they get older. And rebuilding the foundation means tearing down, going backwards on everything that you just built, which is extremely hard and takes a long time. But if you've already had all that progress and you have to do that, I'm here to tell you it's well worth it. But you don't want to do that unless you have to. So it's better to build a solid foundation and do it right from the beginning. I'll also link a video in the description explaining every single one of those movement patterns so that you can go deeper and understand it if you choose to. Lifting with a neutral brace spine is the best way to lift extremely heavy weight. However, if you only train in this position and you neglect other movement patterns as well, or bracing your spine in other positions, it can actually make you weaker, because if you don't use it, you'll lose it. After I got in a car accident, my mid back was so tight that I couldn't even have a former bodybuilder being able to adjust it as my chiropractor because it was so stiff, because my nervous system was on lockdown. So it tightened everything up so I would not be able to move my mid back because it feared being in a more rounded position because of the alarm that was set off because of the car accident. But it was the weak link in my training because I did not train a braced rounded spine position. You see strongmen doing it when they're lifting boulders, kegs, sandbags. This trains the rounded spine, or you could do a Zercher squat if you have a barbell. But this will train the braced rounded spine and allow you to have strength that transfers to the real world. But not everything you lift, you're able to actually use a neutral spine. So you need to train the other areas you're gonna move if you're gonna move that way. Because in the real world, objects that are heavy, you cannot just grip easily in your hand. You gotta wrap your arms around it, a dresser, a couch. As they get heavier, they get bigger. And so you have to be able to round in order to get a good grip on that. And that's why you need to train the rounded spine. Having back pain is one of the worst things you can experience because it doesn't just affect the location of the pain, but it will affect everything in your body and prevent movement because of the neural network that's in your spine. So part of preventing all that or even fixing it is realizing the different planes that you have to train in. There is forward and backward, there is lateral, and then there is rotational. And most exercises people do in the gym are all forward and backward. And so that there is no strength when there is lateral load or rotational load put on the spine. And that is where you'll tweak something and cause a back injury because you were not able to keep your spine braced when there was a different load that was not coming from the front or the back. The next thing you need to understand is there is a tug of war going inside your body. And unless you're aware of it, you're going to lose, and that's going to cause you pain. Let me explain. Many people, typically when they're younger, say that they want to have biceps and abs. If they achieve that, they're going to have problems because their muscles are meant to have one that is an acceleration. If you're referring to a vehicle, the gas pedal and the brakes. What happens if there is something that runs in front of your car and you have no brakes? Of course, you're going to run straight into it. So if a football player throws a football and they're activating their triceps and there is no brakes, such as their biceps in this example, then the elbow is going to overextend and they're going to have an injury. So you need to train the opposing side, and there needs to be balance, because if there's not balance, like a teeter totter, one will be higher than the other. Also, in within your muscles, if you don't have that balance, that's where you're going to feel tight and stiff, and there's going to be other muscles that are compensating for the weaker ones doing their job, trying to adapt and do what you want them to do by lifting, by carrying something, by moving something. And you're not going to notice it because your body is extremely good at adapting. But once the problem exists and it's deep, that's when you're going to experience aches and pains. And by then, it is a long road to be able to fix it. It's not an overnight fix like many of the videos that you see on YouTube say. So this comes back to understanding the movements of every single joint, because when you understand the different movements of the elbow, you're going to work the triceps and the biceps, the quads and the hamstrings. And then there is the back and the chest and all the different areas. Once you understand all the particular movements of the joint, you're automatically going to hit everything. You don't have to memorize all the different joint of the muscles. You just have to be able to hit the different movement patterns. And by doing that, you're going to activate the right muscles. The surprising thing is I have seen so many different physical therapists, specialists, doctors, and none of them could be able to fix my body that was so broken that I felt like I would never be able to play with my kids, because I was in a disabled state for many years because of my situation. And I had to go back to the fundamentals, and almost like I was a baby learning to crawl and walk all over again, I had to reteach myself how to move correctly, how to activate the right muscles, how to stop the overcompensation from some and balance it out, move in the different planes, all these different things. And over time, I was able to rebuild my body, something that doctors said that was impossible. They said I had an 80 to 90-year-old body, that I would never be able to lift weights again, and that I just had to learn to deal with the pain because there was no fix. And that wasn't just one doctor, that was many doctors. And I don't want that for you. I want you to actually enjoy life. If you want to have a greater physique, that's great. That comes with just doing the right things. You're going to get that or maintain that. But how you feel will dictate depending on the type of training that you do. You don't want to look in the mirror and think that you have that Hollywood body, but be in so much pain. It is not an enjoyable situation. If you need help identifying where your weak links are and strengthening them, hit the link in the description. It's a free assessment that'll walk you through simply on how to find your weak links and strengthen them, because you're only as strong as your weakest link. You not only will have injury prevention, but you'll be able to perform better and feel better in every part of your life. If you want to know how to program your workouts in order to hit your goals and still do this type of training, hit this video. It'll be able to help you out. Remember to train for the day you don't see coming.